If you were him, what would you do? Clock that guy in the face. Released from his local club, Leonidas' search for a new team proved tricky. Despite what he did at youth level, Leonidas' reputation barely reached outside the local spheres. Although, the people who were reporting about it may have been getting fed alternative opinions. Sure, he has growing to do, but the guy is 16. There are literal adults writing a hit piece like this. Additionally, it might not help that his agent Ruben has pissed off half the managers in the Brasileiro Serie A. That led to a longer period without a contract, which meant he had to keep himself fit. To do that, he needed to participate in Várzea tournaments. What is a Várzea? According to Rafinha, it's like a network of independent matches and tournaments organized by the local community. You play on clay, burning heat, dust, and sand. The players are the rejects. They play with anger, they play to survive, play like their lives depend on it. People in Brazil know what Várzeas are, but you have to play in it to understand what it's really like. Leo didn't play in these tournaments for too long, but the experiences were invaluable, and sometimes a little crazy. He was lucky that after a couple of weeks, offers were received. His destination would be further north of Fortaleza Esporte Clube, north via a 13-minute drive. Not like Leo has a license, but his new club will be Serra Sporting Clube, the fierce rivals of his former. Controversial? Potentially to whatever former fans he had. But do you expect a 16-year-old to move across the country? Or to Mexico where Atlético San Luis knew about him? With the number 9 spot open, let's learn about his new team. Serra Sporting Clube were founded in 1914 with nicknames including Vozio, meaning Big Grandpa, Vovô, meaning grandpa, and O Mais Querido, meaning dearest. Vovô also is their mascot. Despite many years of the 21st century in the second tier, they have played in the top flight. The rivalry between them and Fortaleza is known as the Clásico Rei and has been contested over 600 times. For Leo, getting one over his former club, now rivals, added another layer to this move. That objective could be done in the State League. The State Leagues have a significant history in Brazil, as they were the first professional leagues. Back in the early 1900s, due to the country's large landmass, it made sense geographically and economically to play teams from your own state. Some of the biggest rivalries in Brazil are only as massive due to these. Unfortunately, the importance of these has decreased due to the national championship. For a lot of clubs though, this is the most important competition. Serra's is the Campeonato Serrense, which they won last season. That gave them one more trophy than their rivals. Conveniently, they would face off soon, as they were in the same group. Huh? They don't play each other? So how it goes is that these 10 are split into 2 groups, and you play all the clubs in the opposite group. First place advances you to the semi-final, and second to third on both sides face off in a quarter-final playoff. The winners face first place. The Rei rivals were both dominant. However, Juliano Mateus was on another level. The man grabbed 10 in the stage, including a 79th minute winner versus Atlético Cearense. Serra could only muster a draw with the same opponents, meaning Fortaleza were off to the semis. Luckily, the quarters were straightforward, with a 3-0 victory over Caucaia. In the semis, it would be the Clásico Rei. Leo returns to Fortaleza's stadium. Wait, they both play in the same stadium? And Juliano was rested. I guess you don't want to overwork a 16-year-old like other places. Regardless, it was a big day for Leo against his former team. While he saw familiar faces, including those in the meeting who he avoided eye contact with, none of the guys from the U20s were present, except for one man, his former coach, Bernardino. Leo respected him as the trainer got a lot out of him, even in a role he felt he wasn't the strongest in. They had a chat, such as how things were at the new club. He also asked Leo about a few players. Since Bernardino is still the U20 manager of Fortaleza, he's managed against Serra's youth. In contrast to last year, Serra had a few guys looking promising. Leo mentioned a few, including the fullbacks of Carlos Wilson and Arnaldo. Both already made appearances for the senior squad, although weren't quite ready to consistently start. Bernardino then asked about Bruninho. Leo had no clue who that was. Bruh. Leo didn't have too much time to talk, but had to know one last thing. Was Bernardino aware about his release beforehand and why it happened? He said he was stunned since he expected the two of them to share playing time during the regional competitions, with the one doing better earning the starting spot. When Leo went into more detail about the meeting, Bernardino's eyebrow raised when he heard Juliano's father being present. His influence kept growing at the club, and thanks to him, the club received more funding for their facilities. However, that idea of him at the meeting left a bad taste in his mouth. Or maybe that was the coffee. You know what? The training facilities are good enough. Upgrade that damn coffee machine. The two departed as Leo got ready for his return. The reception for him was mixed, as it would be joining a crosstown rival. Nevertheless, he was ready for the next part of his career, and while it wasn't the matchup fans were hoping for, it was a glorious opportunity to make a final. Serra seemed dominant, but despite missing Juliano and his 10 goals in the competition, Fortaleza opened it up 24 minutes in. Chances continued to be exchanged into the second half, and yes, things were looking difficult for the Vovos, but Leo would eventually get his first good effort on net. Still, the deficit remained until there was 10 to go. A long ball to Guilherme Caxil was nodded into the path of Leo as he equalized the match. Would he celebrate? Of course he did. Let's explain an additional rule to this competition. By this point, the home team, who finished in first place, would have the advantage if it ends in a draw. So, as of now, Fortaleza would advance, but it wouldn't matter. Serra were opening themselves up and got countered, seeing Fortaleza find the official winner late. A disappointing result for Leo and the squad, as Fortaleza would go on and easily win the 2024 Cearense Serie A. The two, though, would see each other again a week later. The Kopa Nordeste is a regional cup competition which Serra and Fortaleza participated in. Informally, it's sometimes referred to as the Lampions League in reference to UEFA's competition. That's the least confusing part. In fact, I'll just leave all this info on the screen if you're interested to learn more. In the Kopa Nordeste, we would see the teenagers face off for the first time. Juliano Mateus started, Leonidas was rested. He did just play a few days prior in the Copa do Brasil. In Juliano's appearance in the Clásico Rei, he would score, and his side would win again. Fortaleza once again advanced to a final where they faced Bahia over 2 legs. Playing across a span of 2 days? Why would anybody want to manage in this country? They also had the Copa Sudamericana the day before. Pedri thinks he had it bad. Bahia had an extra day of rest in comparison, and that tiny advantage would benefit them in the end, as they won the tie 4-3, lifting the trophy in front of their home fans. With Leo and Juliano yet to face off, it was like a mysterious puppeteer swayed things to make sure this encounter never happened. However, fate cannot be avoided forever, as their clubs faced off in the Copa do Brasil over 2 legs. And with a significant break prior, we would finally get to see the teenagers face off for the very first time. It actually happened, let's go! In the tunnel, they gave each other a certain look, but were professional enough for a handshake. Juliano would have the first chance out of the two, but it was a difficult header. As expected, Fortaleza looked stronger heading into the half. Leo was relatively quiet, and its rival was not. Serra would gain possession, only to give it away, allowing Juliano a glorious opportunity, yet he was stopped from point blank. If Fortaleza can't do it the easy way though, why not have this done? Mess up 2 free kicks. Then have Mateus Justo take over and do this. Serra's Jean Carlos nearly did it too. With another woodwork hit later, it didn't seem to be the Vovos' day. Following in the 80th minute, Juliano would play his teammates in behind, but his rare playmaking ability was wasted. Fortaleza would rue that miss, as a few minutes later, a free kick was won by the visiting side. Guilherme Caxil stepped up to take it, and his far post delivery was founded by Leo. Unbelievable scenes, as this cup tie was level. Nothing else occurred, as in the first meeting between the teenagers, Leo earned the man of the match. Juliano didn't score, but had a promising game. Advantage though, goes to Leonidas. As the second leg arrived a week later, Juliano didn't appear. In Leo's first Clásico Rei in front of the Vozil crowd, the home side would absolutely obliterate the Leal do PC, 5-0 by half time. Juliano was seen sitting in the box seats as the counter kept going back from him and Leo. However, respect to Jean Carlos, who put on a show to remember. If Leo rated performances for Brazilian Cup matches, he would grab a perfect 10. The media were stunned, and Leo's new team became a side to watch over the course of the Brazilian calendar. Both sides gained something from these encounters, but how they'll look when they meet again is a question for another day.